Hi guys, so today I wanted to talk about incels, the patriarchy, and the entitlement of men. Yes, so there's been a lot of articles coming out over the last couple of months and a lot of studies and a lot of YouTubers talking about the discussion of how men are basically expecting women to get them out of the mess of the patriarchy that they created. So patriarchy, as we all should know by now, does not benefit anyone. It doesn't benefit women. It doesn't benefit men, children, anybody. The patriarchy is a man's game, but the irony is it doesn't support every man. So it ends up rendering a lot of men feeling worthless, etc., so forth. And there's been a lot of talk of like the loneliness epidemic around men. How men are turning to artificial intelligence in means of wanting a girlfriend who is basically they want AI girlfriends. And a lot of men are actually blaming women for a large percent of men being incels, because incels sometimes they are a group of people who feel entitled to the access of women. And really the narrative from the manosphere lately has been, having access to the bodies of women. That's all that people see women as. They see us as walking wombs and people to have sex with a lot of times. So we still have this narrative going on in patriarchy. This is all my opinion, where men see women as objects. They don't see us as people, but they feel like they can treat us however they want and still have access to us. And so the thing when it comes to incels, a lot of women have been speaking up about the incel groups and how they can be very violent and dangerous. But there's a large percent of people, men and women, who think we should be empathetic to incels. And the only problem I see with that is like, incels are not the only group of people who are discriminated against, and yet they are largely a large percent of them turn to radicalized men who engage in mass shootings. They actually turn into being violent to their society, where women are not as violent, and we've been oppressed for Lord knows how long. You have actual minority groups that deal with racism, microaggression, violence every day, all day. And what I want to see studies done on is, why are these groups who are also treated poorly, they're not doing the same things as incels. And incels come from, in my opinion, a space of entitlement. Again, we deserve access to women, where instead of asking like, what part in your development as a person did things go wrong, or that you can learn to be a better person. And it's not just incels who are experiencing this loneliness epidemic or, lack of access to women. Men in general, women are decentering themselves from men. Men in general are having to step up to become better people for the first time in a long time in patriarchy. And a lot of people are not willing to do that. And a lot of people feel like, well, I should be able to stay the same and still get access to what I am entitled to, which is completely insane way of thinking. And I'm scared for girls, little young girls who are walking around with these men who feel entitled to their bodies, not them as a person. They don't want to know them as a person. They feel entitled to their bodies. We keep getting news where this teenage girl was basically, her ex was trying to win her back with flowers. She said no on a bus, and I think this was in like UK recently. And the guy ended up stabbing her to death. And so there's no space to be empathetic when the end goal here is violence to me. So it's more so of like, where did the development go wrong? We don't question cause and effect of patriarchy enough to me. Because it's not coming out of the blue. We have to change the circumstances and the environment. It's not happening by accident or by coincidence, or there's so many factors at play here, but a lot of people are so hell-bent on keeping status quo that, they don't really want to fix the larger problem that's creating, the incels, the violence in the culture and the community, etc., etc. We have a person who is a school shooter or a mass shooter, he gets to have walk scot-free, get married, rebrand himself, and he has a TikTok account. So these people aren't even being punished like they should be, but yet women are being pressured to solve the problems of men. Where women have bore the pressure of needing to become better people because we have no other choice. We have to work on our character. Under patriarchy, when you're oppressed and you got nothing else to do, you have to work on your character, your integrity, how to nurture people, how to connect with people, how to network, how to be personable, it's all these skills. You have to go inward. When you can't move your outside, you have to go inward. So women have spent so much time working on ourselves, and I think when we have empathy for incels and the way that people are putting it, we're saying we're coddling them. Like we're wanting people to come in and hold their hand even more, instead of saying, well, if women can do it under oppression, why can't y'all do it and you have more privilege? So it's kind of like there's some part disconnect to me where they're opting out and they are not wanting to do the work to me. I don't know if that seems harsh, but when it translates to violence, to me it has to be harsh, because it's like how come everyone else has to be collateral damage for incels? Every day women get online and they're being attacked by incels. Majority of the manosphere is incels that resort to violence of men killing their partners because rejection or something crazy. And all we can sit all day and say it's not only men. Of course, women can't deal with rejection either. Women are the thing is, women are opting out of relationships. They're willingly being celibate. Not that there aren't femcells, but again, why aren't they going down the pipeline of being violent and blaming everyone else? So there's this disconnect. I think when you have this recipe under patriarchy where you see women as objects, men already feel entitled to women's bodies, and you mix this denial of needing to step up and be a better person but not wanting to, thinking that the world should just coddle you and meet you halfway, and you should just be entitled to women, access to women, just because you were born a man. There's a disconnect there for me. And again, the main thing here is how can we make a less violent world and a better community, a better world in general. And I don't know, this is just where I stand with it. And we still have men who, again, are reducing women to just their looks. Again, we don't see women as people. We don't take women as serious. Women, the most dangerous thing women can do is put themselves around men. But, we're expecting things to magically change. And then all these articles that come out asking women to just have empathy. It's like asking the oppressed to eradicate, the oppressor of all of their problems. And that's impossible, because it takes the oppressor to look in the mirror and change some things, which they're not willing to do. And now the consequence is, now there's less birthing rates around the world. Now there are women who don't even want to play into beauty standards. They don't want to play into the male gaze. They don't want to play into marriage. They don't want to give birth. Everyone wants to be single. Religion is dying out. And so this is the cause and effect of so many years and years of patriarchy and violence. The whole world runs on violence. When I sat and really thought about it, the reason we have so many borders and countries is because someone fought to have these borders and countries put into play. The reason that there's so much military personnel, everything is violence. And so when do we have balance? How do we get to the point where we're restoring balance in the world? And again, it's really not on minorities and women. We're having the discussions amongst ourselves. We don't even have power to make change. And so when people look into us and they're like, oh, well, what are we going to do about it? It's really not on us. I mean, we can have the discourse and the conversation and offer maybe support in some way or knowledge, but it's like, at what point do we get to where you know better, you do better? And again, it's kind of like colonialism, white supremacy, all of that. It's not really looking to people who are oppressed or people like me or whatever the case is. It's when do we get to the point to look into the mirror and understand that when you destroy things that are supposed to be an extension of you, it comes back to bite you, basically. And again, to me, mankind isn't learning cause and effect quick cause and effect quick enough to me, and we're seeing it all play out. So I'm curious of how, you know, things will go. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be as easy as like women think, as like, oh, the patriarchy is dying, without them fighting back to keep it going. Like when they had abortion laws banned in America, I'm sure there's still going to be a fight, just like capitalism isn't going to go out without a fight. And so it's just interesting to see how everything's going to play out. But yeah, this is just my rant and thoughts. There's so many women who I see on the Threads app lately talking about incels, and they're openly talking about, they're saying stuff like it's not even a flex to have men desire you anymore, because their desire, we're in competition with dead corpses, kids, animals. When you think of that, it's not a flex to be in this rating system for incels and men in general. It's like, at what point do men have to be better people? Like the bar has been so low, and like, not to mention the shit that's done in the dark, like how they can't even hire people to work at the morgue because the men are just gonna have relations with the dead bodies. Like, that's some sinister stuff. Like, how can, in my mind, spiritually, how can you bounce back from stuff like that? Like, here I am trying to be a good person every day, thinking I beat myself up. I beat myself up if I'm just even slightly mad at somebody. But then when you have this sinister stuff going on, it's nuts. And then how the world is set up is that there's this illusion of morality and integrity when nothing is built on that. Everything's built on violence. And so something's got to give and something's got to change, where violence and all of this is the norm. And again, you can't have the people who are being collateral damage come help you at this point. So that's nuts to me. And of course, you're gonna have people falling for it. You still have people coming out saying marriage is the best thing in the world, patriarchy is the best thing in the world, capitalism is the best thing in the world, you know, order is the best thing in the world. But I guess we shall see.